What's going on, everyone? It's the PowerPoint Club and we are back. Today I'm going to show you how to create this cool dynamic opening sequence only using PowerPoint. Firstly, a massive thank you to all the channel subscribers. We are now 1,000 strong, which is pretty amazing. But enough of the chit chat, let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is roughly build a storyboard of what we want to say on each slide. So let's go ahead and grab a text box and start creating some typography. I'm using a font called Uniform, but most sans serif fonts will work. You just want something that's easy to read. A sans serif font just means a font without the wiggly bits on the end. A serif font could be Times New Roman, while a sans serif font could be Arial. Sans without the wiggly bits. Easy. Let's set our text to be center aligned and centered within the actual box. Use your smart guides to help, and if your guides are not on, simply head up to the View tab and toggle the Guides button. Increase the font size. Control and square bracket on your keyboard is a quick shortcut to do this. So once we've got this first slide set up, we need to now duplicate this a bunch of times. So either right click and hit duplicate, or hit Ctrl D on your keyboard, and let's make a load of copies. We can delete the ones we don't want at the end. So all I'm going to do now is go through each slide one by one and either change the text to something I want to say, or put a placeholder where I want an image or a logo. So I'm going to speed this up to save us all some time. I want to end on the logo, so we can go ahead and delete these extra slides. We can always come back later and add them if we need more. If we hit the slide sorter button, we have a super basic storyboard of typography and image placeholders. This is a good place to get started to make sure you're getting your story right and everything is kind of in the right order. So now we need to bring this to life. The next step is to change the color of some of the slide backgrounds, change the typography colors and size, and insert some images. To change the background color of a slide, simply right click your mouse and hit the Format Background button. A pane will open up on the right hand side where we can change our background. I just want a solid black background, so I'll choose that in the color options. Then I'll need to change the text color. You can do this from the Home tab, and let's increase that font size a little bit too. Onto the next slide, I want my logo and a photograph here, so we just need to insert an image. Head up to the Insert tab and choose Pictures, locate your photo, that's not my desk, that is far too tidy. Let's make this image fit the slide, so grab the corners and drag each side to fill it up, and let's hit the crop tool and trim that top edge to keep it all nice and neat. On to the next slide, we're just going to change the background color and text in exactly the same format as before. Right click, hit Format Background and change the color. To change the font color is from the Home tab. If you have a folder of images like I do, you can simply drag these onto your slide rather than hitting the Insert button. Let's go ahead and choose this cool looking guy. That's not me, by the way, he has way more hair. Again, scale and crop to fit the slide, and that's all we're going to do from now on for the remaining slides. One by one, change the background and text color, import and resize images. I'm going to leave this slide for now, but we'll come back and do something cool with this one when our slides are a bit more polished. So let's click the slide sorter view. You can see our storyboard is starting to take shape now. We have some colour and some cool images. On a side note, I get asked all the time where I source my images from. So a little secret, there's a fantastic site called unsplash.com. All images are totally free and there are some super talented photographers on there. It's a great resource for any designer, so make sure you check it out. Okay, our storyboard is looking great. It's now for the fun part. It's time to bring these slides to life. I'm going to duplicate this first slide twice and create a short animation sequence to get us to this first hello slide. I'll make these slides blank by deleting the text. And I'm going to create a small circle and position this on the second slide. Position in the center, and let's change the color and make sure it has no outline. Hit the animation tab and I'll choose the fly in animation. I want to change some of the settings. So hit the animation pane button, hit the drop down and select effect options. In the direction drop down, we want to choose from top. We can ignore the smoothness setting on this one, but we do want to have a bounce ending. Add this at around 0.40. Hit the timing tab and let's change that to with previous, as we want this to happen immediately. Let's hit OK and see how it looks. It's pretty fast. So you can preview this again by hitting the play button at the top of the animation pane. Now, let's ignore that first slide for now. We'll come back to that and I'll explain why we need it later. Now, I want our little dot to explode and appear as the background on the next slide. So copy that dot and paste it onto the next slide. Let's remove the animation, so go to the animation pane and hit delete. Make sure the text is set to the front, so select the text, right click and choose bring to front. Select our pink dot and let's scale it to fill the slide like so. So we now have a big pink dot as our background. But how do we make it look like it's exploding? Let's hit the transition tab and choose the Morph Effect. The Morph Effect is super cool. It basically moves things from one slide to another. If we hit the Morph transition, we can see now our dot expands onto the next slide. Pretty cool, right? However, it's a little slow at the moment. Head over to the right side to the timing section and let's change the value in the duration box to say 0.25. If we hit the Morph button again, we can see how that change looks. So next up, let's duplicate these hello slides a couple of times and let's remove the dot on both. We now have 3 hello slides and the effect I want to go for is for each one just to be a different color and to grow on each slide. So just a case of changing the background in text color in the usual way and increasing the font size on each slide so it's larger than the one before. We'll come back and add the finishing touches to the transitions later on. Next slide I want to use is my logo and this desk image for a cool effect. Firstly, we need to make this screen black by simply drawing a black rectangle over the top. So scale and position until it looks correct. Now grab the black rectangle and hit Shift and click the photo to have both elements selected. Right click and hit Group to group these objects together. Drag the logo onto the screen, scale and position. Let's duplicate this slide, hit Ctrl D, select the first copy and then scale the image until the black screen acts as the background. Use the slide thumbnail on the left to see how it looks. and then scale the logo to fit the slide. Select the second slide and let's add that morph transition again. It's a bit slow again, so head over to the duration settings and add in 0.25 again. On the next slide, I want to add some animation to the text. So hit the animation tab and choose the fly-in effect again. We can do some tweaking on the timing tab, such as the start type and duration. But to finesse this further, hit the animation pane button and let's hit that drop down and choose animation effects. I'm happy with the direction, but again, I want the bounce effect. Something like 0.30 is a good place to start. Now I want each word to animate independently, not as a group. So in this menu, choose by word, and then you can change the timing delay for each word. 10% is a pretty good place to start. Everything else looks fine, so let's hit OK and see how it looks. Again, hit the play button in the animation pane to see how it looks. You can always go back and change the settings to your liking. I want a bit more pizzazz on this slide, so I've got a cheeky little effect I want to share with you all. Create a circle like this and position just off the slide. Change the colour and then hit the animation tab, and let's select the grow shrink animation. Let's change what we can in the timing section, but again we need the animation effects button to fine tune. This time, let's add some smoothness. To this effect, these settings should work. But again, have a play around and see what works for you. In the size drop down, we can choose how much we want our element to grow or shrink. There are a bunch of presets, but I'm going to choose custom and make it absolutely massive. Make sure both is selected, as we want our circle to grow in all directions. The idea being that the circle grows to cover our slide. So let's make a copy of this circle. Select the circle, hit Control on your keyboard and then drag across with your mouse. Change the colour and then let's do the same again to make 3 copies in total. Let's select our text, right click and move this to the front. So it will be sitting on top of our circles when they animate. Hit the play button in the animation pane to see what we have. Awesome, super simple effect for any presentation. We are smashing this, guys. The next few slides are pretty good. We want them to be quick cuts, so I'll just slightly increase the size of each. We'll come back to this one shortly and do something cool with it. All our image slides are looking good. Again, we want these to be quick cuts, so nothing more to do on these. Heading to the text slide, we want to give this little guy some personality, so let's add an animation. Hit the More Animation drop down and go down to More Effects, so let's choose the Compress animation and hit OK. In the timing section, let's change our start type and duration to make it nice and fast. Hit that play button to see a preview. It's only subtle, but that's what we want. On to the next slide, another nice little sequence that's easy to create for any presentation. Firstly, let's increase this text size a little bit. Grab the image, right click, and make sure it's at the back, as you want the text to sit on top of it. Scale and crop the image as before. Now this guy is clearly watching the PowerPoint Club. With the image selected, head over to the color button and let's change the saturation of this image to 0 to make it black and white. Then let's right click the image to open up the formatting options hit the picture button and let's change the transparency of that image. I like to work backwards to get that faded out look just right. Let's duplicate this slide, Ctrl D on your keyboard. On the second slide, let's make the text smaller and the image larger. Hit crop and grab the image and drag it to make it bigger. With the second slide selected, hit transition and let's choose the morph again. Nice. We'll fix the speed on this one later. The image and text on this slide looks absolutely fine. I'll just increase the text ever so slightly. Let's go ahead and add some transition to these last few slides to make them pop. To get from our photo to our dynamic text, let's add a transition. Hit the More Transitions button and let's choose the blind effect. And we can speed that up by changing the duration. For these next couple of slides, I want the text to appear to swap when the slides change. So to do this, let's copy the text from the next slide and paste onto our current slide. Let's move it off screen towards the top. So when we hit the morph transition, it gives the effect of the text dropping onto screen. However, I want the previous text to fall off the screen at the same time to achieve the swap look. So we copy our current text and paste that onto the next slide and move to the bottom of the screen. So now when we hit the morph button, they look like they're swapping. Can get a little bit fiddly to make it work correctly, so take it slow and you'll get there. We'll do exactly the same with the customizable text. I'm not even sure that's a real word. However, my wife assures me it is, so if it's not, we can blame her. Apply a morph transition again, and we're looking good. For the Let Go slide, I'm just going to use a simple transition. In the More Transitions, let's choose the comb effect and speed up that duration. For the last slide, the logo slide, we're going to use the zoom and morph effect from previous slides. So let's copy the logo and let's paste it onto the Let Go slide. And let's scale it so big that the pink dot on the eye could be used as a background. Don't forget to send it to the back. Or we could use a hole in one of the letters, like so. Once positioned correctly, let's hit the morph transition and see how it looks. Again, we can make this faster by shortening the duration. Boom. So now we need to make something cool for this last slide. I want to make kind of a montage of all the slides we've just created. So head up to File, hit Save As, and let's choose the file type as a PNG, which is a portable network graphic. Hit Save and make all our slides into PNG image files. Find these images and drag a selection onto the slide. Select all the images and resize them. A good tip is to hit Ctrl and your cursor key, up to make them larger, down to make them smaller. Now arrange them into a tiled design, something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, as it's only going to be on screen for a second or less. So our design, animation and transitions are all done. Not bad for say 20 minutes work. I'm just going to go back and change some transition speeds that I forgot to do previously. I know, this YouTube life is hard. So you can see I just sped up a couple there. So now we need to make all the slides advance automatically. You'll see at the moment they will only move forward when the mouse is clicked, which is no good to us. So with all the slides selected, Control A, go ahead and uncheck the mouse click button and choose the after button. From there we can choose how long each slide stays on screen. I'm going to choose 0.20 as I want this to be really fast. You can of course tailor each slide to have different durations. For example, if you want to hold on a specific text slide for longer, you just have to set that after time to be a little bit longer. But in the interest of time and this video, we'll keep them the same, but definitely have a play around with these settings. And now for our final flourish, let's add some music. It's a good idea to run your presentation and time it to see how long it runs and get some music that's about the same length. Select our first slide that we ignored earlier, head over to Insert, then Audio, find some music, move that audio icon off the screen. In the Playback tab, select to play automatically and check the Play Across Slides button. This is important because the music will play across the duration of our slides, not just this first slide. So let's hit slideshow mode and see how it looks. Bosh! Dynamic opening sequence done. It looks awesome. Now you can use this as an intro to your presentation or export as a movie for use in your video projects. I'm going to leave a link to my final file and all of my assets in the description below, so please download it, customize it and go wild. So that's it guys. If you found this one useful, be sure to drop me a comment and a like, and please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Big thanks as always for checking out the channel, and I'll see you on the next video, which hopefully won't be in a year's time. Bye.